The next genetic disorder that we have to cover in today's video is a deletion syndrome or deletion पे कौन सा locus affected है, that is defined by the name of the disorder 22q11.2. और अगर आप मेरी पिछली वीडियोस देखते हुए आ रहे हैं जेनेटिक्स की तो आपको आइडिया है कि when we annotate any locus like this, that actually is like the coordinates of an address कि आपके जीनोम में एग्जैक्टली ये डिलीशन सिंड्रोम किस लोकेशन की वजह से हो रहा है, किस लोकेशन में डिलीशन की वजह से हो रहा है, तो ये कोऑर्डिनेट्स हैं, गूगल मैप की तरह की चीज़ है. सो 22q का मतलब ये है कि यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट a specific arm of chromosome number 22, and now you know there is a P and a Q arm. So here we are talking about Q arm, which is the long arm of chromosome number 22. एंड अगला जो नंबर है दैट रिप्रेजेंट्स द बैंड, एंड देन उसके बाद जो नंबर होता है वो रीजन होता है. सो दिस इज एग्जैक्टली ऑन द लॉन्ग आर्म ऑफ क्रोमोसोम नंबर 22, बैंड नंबर 11. Okay, and this is where the problem is. So this deletion syndrome encompasses a spectrum of disorders that result from a small interstitial deletion at this location. The clinical features of this syndrome, जैसा कि नाम से जाहिर है syndrome, तो इसमें बहुत सारे issues होंगे. So it basically affect heart, it affects palate formation, facial dysmorphism because there is palate dysmorphogenesis as well. The delay in the developmentals, जो milestones हैं वो delayed achieve होंगे. Thymus का hypoplasia, and when thymus is affected there obviously is affected T cell immunity. Okay, along with thymus there is parathyroid का hypoplasia which then leads to hypocalcemia. So this is a wide range. Okay, now previously these clinical features were believed to represent two different disorders. Number one, DiGeorge syndrome, इसका नाम आपने सुना होगा, and the other one is what we call the Velocardiofacial syndrome. However, it is now known that both are caused by the same locus pay deletion. Okay, and variations in the size and position of the deletion then leads to varied clinical manifestations. So for example, the long segment deleted will have more symptoms, more clinical features. Smaller segment deleted will have symptoms accordingly. Okay, now variations in the size and position is important because if the whole locus is deleted then there is a widespread spectrum, right? तो पहले इसको दो पार्ट्स में एक्चुअली डिवाइड करते थे, डिजॉर्ज में और वेलोकार्डियोफेशियल, बट अब इसको एक ही नाम हम ये देते हैं 22q11.2 deletion, right? When T cell immunodeficiency and hypocalcemia are the predominant features, the patient is then said to have DiGeorge syndrome. So DiGeorge syndrome by definition is actually same as what we are discussing right now, but the symptom predominance is basically that of T cell immunodeficiency, which means thymus ka hypoplasia and parathyroid ka hypoplasia, okay, leading to hypocalcemia. अगर हम velocardiofacial syndrome की बात करें, then they have mild immunodeficiency and pronounced dysmorphology of the cardiac and the facial effects. So that's how you differentiate between the two. But both are then considered, you see, subgroups of this particular deletion syndrome. In addition to the malformation, the patient with this deletion syndrome are at high risk of schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. In fact, it is estimated that schizophrenia develops in approximately 25% of the adults with this syndrome. Conversely, deletions of the region can be found in 2 to 3% of the individuals with childhood onset of. So, very strong association with schizophrenia. Okay, and the molecular basis of the syndrome is not fully understood. However, we know that the affected region of the chromosome 11 encodes for many genes. Amongst these, a transcription factor which is called TBX1 is suspected to be amongst the main genes responsible, if it is deleted, for the symptoms that we see in this syndrome. The diagnosis of the condition may be suspected on clinical ground. So if you see somebody with cardiac defects, childhood schizophrenia, and facial features, you start suspecting it, and then you do obviously various techniques by which you can actually study the phenotype of the chromosomes. Okay, FISH, for example, fluorescent in situ hybridization. That's how you actually detect the disorder. So that's pretty much easy stuff, but इसमें कुछ high yield points हैं. आपने डिजॉर्ज का नाम तो सबने सुना होता है, बट इस डिलीशन के नाम से अक्सर स्टूडेंट वाकिफ नहीं होते. सो यू मस्ट अंडरस्टैंड दैट दिस पर्टिकुलर डिसऑर्डर encompass two clinical scenarios. One is called DiGeorge syndrome, where the patient primarily has thymic hypoplasia, so T cell immune problems, and the patient also has hypocalcemia, so that's DiGeorge. And the velocardiofacial is more sort of facial and cardiac issues, right? But both of them are associated with 22q11.2 deletion, and the main gene involved is one of the transcription factor called TBX1. All right, all high yield information. That's all about this particular deletion syndrome. Take care of yourself.